folks, and welcome back to Fishing with Den. In this episode I'm going to show you how to fish with the method feeder. In a previous episode I showed you how to set it up, so now let's put that theory into practice. Before we do, I should just point out this isn't for the practice match angler out there, this is for the ordinary pleasure angler who wants to go out and catch a few fish. So for those of you who don't have much experience, this is a good guide for you. For those with lots of experience, I'm afraid you probably won't be watching anyway, will you? The venue I'm fishing today, as you can see, is a big open expanse of water. And of course, the choice of tackle, rods and everything else will be based upon where you're fishing. If you're fishing a small commercial in England, which is no more than sort of 16 metres wide like a snake lake, or in some other cases maybe 40 or 50 metres wide, you wouldn't necessarily need big beefy tackle like I'm using today. So you just have to gauge exactly what it is, but the tackle shop will help you with that sort of thing. They're really good at telling you exactly what you should use for any given venue or type of venue. So be guided by them. So the rod I'm using then is this puddle chucker. This is the 12-foot carp feeder version. It's quite a heavy feeder, and it will handle up to 8-pound line, which is what I'm using on the reel at the moment. And the reason I'm using this is because I'm fishing this huge expanse of water here, and the fish average 6 to 8 pounds, but you may easily find that you're getting 10-pounders regularly and 15 to 20-pounders on a fairly regular basis. You know, maybe 2 or 3 of those in a day on the 15-pound side, and the odd 20-pounder. So as I say, line is 8 pound, it's Maxima. And the reel I'm using is a 4000 MAP reel, but basically don't go out and buy something brand new, just use what you've got, certainly in the early stages. Down at the feeder end, those of you that have seen the how to set up a feeder will have seen this one. This is the elasticated feeder I use with a 14 hook and a Guru speed stop in this case. Speed stops are made by all sorts of manufacturers, this one just happens to be a Guru one. The feeder itself, as you'll have seen in the previous video, if you do break off up here, this will pull out and just get rid of the feeder altogether. So the fish will only have this little amount of line trailing around behind them, and also this is a barbless hook. So that just means that they can disgorge it easily. For the hook then, today I'm using some sweet corn, and to put it on, insert the needle into the end of the speed stop, grab some corn, push it through. You can use 1 or 2 pieces for this. I'm going to use 2 today, and I'm going to put mine on like this. Having got it on, take the speed stop, pull it, and that's the bait on for you. Hook is just here, so the fish hook themselves easily. Another way of doing it, be careful of this way though, because it can lead to spin-ups sometimes if you get it on wrong. And that's literally push it through. Works really well on large pieces like this. And that's how it sits. Ground bait wise, don't make up too dry a mix. You don't want it breaking up on the way down. It needs to hold together firmly and then break up on the bottom. If a few particles come up, that's fine, but I like mine to be quite an inert mix. So next thing is, what are you going to put in it? Now you could just be using pellets anyway, of course, and just use it as a pellet feeder, but for the average pleasure angler you may just want to use ground bait like I'm doing here. I'm going to put these pellets in. You could put quite a few handfuls of pellets in and some sweet corn, but be aware that if you do that, these pellets will soak up some of the moisture. If I just show you another issue you can have, if I put too much bait in, let's actually do that deliberately, like so, a bit more. Right, if you really fill the ground bait with bait, then when you try and put it on the feeder, all that happens is, okay, it kind of breaks up and falls off, as you see there. It's not what you want. As you see, I can't really get it on. It's, see, and again that will just fall off on the way out. So now, having ruined my ground bait, let's mix it around some more to get some more volume in. The idea is you can have some bait in there if you want, or you can just put a pinch in every time you decide to cast out. That spread it out a bit more. This time, actually, let's clean the feeder. Right, okay. So this time then, I grab the feeder, put it in, and you see immediately that that stays. Bait on the top of the feeder, pinch of bait, along with a few of the free offerings. If you're using pellet on the feeder, just use pellets, don't put free offerings in, because the pellets are themselves the free offerings. And when I say pellets, I'm talking about 2mm pellets, sinking pellets, which you soak for a minute or two till they become a little bit inundated with water. That kind of thing is probably something I should leave to another time if I were you, but leave it for a minute or so, drain the water off, and then they should be able to stick together on the feeder. Have a bit of a practice before you do that, because you could end up with pellets which are no good to going on the feeder. So let's throw it in and see what happens. That's about where I'm fishing. Put the rod in the rod rest. Now it's going to take about 9 seconds for this to hit the bottom. And when it does, as you see, I'm just moving the handles here, so I'm trimming the tip. If I move the handles backwards, the tip goes back, and forwards, obviously it curves more. You don't want a massive curve in like that, because you're going to, as you saw, it just moves the bait, or the feeder rather, and that's not helpful. So just put a smallish bend in there. Then when a fish bites, the idea is that if I just simulate this by pulling the line, you'll get little knocks like this. That'll be line bites, where the fish's fins are hitting on the line. Ignore those altogether. What you're looking for, see how much they're already getting a line bite there. Now I fished here yesterday, so there's bait in there, so it does mean that there's probably a few fish still around. But you'll know when you've got a bite, because instead of seeing this kind of thing, it will literally just pull around. Or the other option is it will drop back. If it does drop back, that's because the fish is coming towards you, but be aware again that it could just still have just knocked the thing towards you. So just put your hand on here, just trim the handle a bit more till you've got a bend in it. If it keeps coming back towards you, the fish is still on and it's coming towards you. Just lift into it, never strike. There's a liner there. And here's what the feeder looks like when it hits the water. As you can see, the ground bait's breaking up slowly, no major particles coming off and floating up, which is not what you want. You can now just see the sweet corn with the hook just breaking off from the ball and lying there in a very enticing manner for the fish to come and suck up. Now I've only given this ground bait a very light squeeze so that we didn't have to wait 3 or 4 minutes while this procedure completed, but in essence that's how it works. And I'm sorry about all these little tiny fish. I'm not quite sure what they are. They're very pretty, but they're getting in the way of what I'm trying to do. But this is what the carp are going to encounter when they come across the method feeder on the bottom. And this is what happens when the carp arrive. As you can see, they're sucking up huge amounts of stuff off the bottom and then spitting it out again and creating a cloud of particles and debris all over the place. So you can just imagine if your bait's in there and the line's attached to it, what I was saying before about the fins catching on the line. So as I said, don't be tempted to strike every time there's a slight movement on the rod. and around it goes again, and off we go. It's a really simple method, just very effective. Keep the rod low, don't pump it, don't try and force it. The more you pull back against the carp, the more it's going to pull against you. So just gentle pressure, just ease it in. If it wants to run, let it run. Set your clutch so you can allow it to run. You don't want to get broken off. As I say, I'm using 8-pound line today, but I could have been using 6-pound, which is my normal sort of thing for smaller waters. But these fish are just such lunatics when they take off. Just keep the line coming onto the reel. Allow it to take line if it needs to. You see the rod here, the top part bends quite easily, but then as you get further down, there's also backbone in this area here, so it doesn't just fold up under pressure. It's a really good rod, not the most expensive rod in the world, but don't worry if you haven't got this particular rod. You can go out and buy an expensive rod, or you can buy some relatively cheap ones these days, and they'll still work perfectly well. Doesn't want to come. Decent fish. This is the danger time, when they're right under your feet. Just take your time. Elastic will do the work for you, along with the rod obviously. I can see the sweet corn just in the corner of its mouth, which is where it usually is. Come on, fish. Just get him over the net head first, hopefully, and he saw it. Yes, that's a nice fish. Got some weight to him. So as you see, right in the corner of his mouth, barbless hook, out it comes. Don't think he's massive, but I'll get the scales out just in case. We'll have a look. Zero. And 11 pounds dead. So again, take off £1.3 for the net, and we're looking at flies everywhere. We're looking at just under £10 again. Nice fish. So that's the end of this tutorial then, guys, on how to fish the method feeder. Hope you enjoyed it, hope you learned plenty. As I said from the outset, it isn't designed for the expert angler. There's all sorts of other things that I'm sure you'll come across when you're method feeder fishing, and obviously we can't get everything into one video, so I'm hoping that I've got enough across today to enable you to catch lots and lots more fish, and especially some good big ones. Till the next time, as usual, if you want to subscribe you can. If you liked it, click the link, and until then, bye for now.